Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. So last week I did a video on feeling tired all the time and quite a lot of you resonated, and it's so surprising how many of us have got issues with different reasons why we feel tired. So this week I thought it would lead on to give you some tips for when it's your eyes that are giving away how tired you are. Now some of these will be for everyone, some might be more for people that wear makeup, but sometimes you are trying to fake it, but the eyes give it away. So here are some tips coming up that are how to sort of brighten up your eyes when you're feeling tired, also if they're naturally a little bit hooded, and some of them are really simple to do for everyone, and other ones are more like little makeup tricks. So these are some tips for when your eyes are giving away how tired you feel. So if you look at last week's video on feeling tired all the time, sleep is one of the big ones. So you want to try and get the best quality sleep you can. Now, if you're exhausted or if it's like a life energy tired, it doesn't matter what kind of sleep you get, your eyes can really give it away. Some people have genetically got the shadows, other times it can be the puffiness. Sometimes the shadows and the puffiness are worse because you're tired, even if you have got them genetically. But what you can do is quite a lot of the tricks, such as using little teaspoons that you've cooled down in the fridge, just a few minutes on each eye, just hold them, and then that helps to encourage the flow of the lymph, and you would do some just very gentle massage around that eye area just to encourage any puffiness, anything that's there. Sometimes it is stagnant lymph that's there, and just encourage the circulation, the blood flow, the lymph flow, and get rid of that puffiness. If there's a little bit of the darkness and it is genetic, but it's worse when you feel tired, then what you might want to do obviously is move on to the makeup, you know, the light reflectors. But don't underestimate the power of an eye cream, because when you feel tired, there can be lots of eye creams that can have little ingredients in them to sort of waken up that area, brighten it. Sometimes it is a bit of fakery because the product has actually got something in that can bounce the light. Other times it's because you're getting dehydrated, you can look quite tired. So just having your eye cream can be the difference between looking a bit crepey and tired and actually looking the best you can. Remember, if you're having a long day and a stressful day, it's okay to look tired. This is about if you're actually trying to hide it, if you like, sort of bounce away the fact that you're actually way more tired than you want people to know. Now, I'm not recommending anything in particular, but eye creams wise, I tend, and I've said this before, to be quite reactive to quite a lot of things. I've also tried the cheapest to the way over £100, and ironically the one that was about £120 that promised the earth did not deliver. I wasn't allergic to it, it just didn't fulfill anything that it said that it would. So I always come back to Nivea, and I tend to go for the Q10. This one just happens to be the one for tired skin and fine lines, but I also get the standard Nivea eye cream too. They're always around about the £10 mark. Here in the UK, there's normally always a promotion somewhere that brings it around about £5 or £6, and I don't break out with this. And when I say break out, what I mean is a bit of a rash, a bit of redness, sometimes a bit of dry skin. So if you're quite sensitive like me, I find that Nivea always works, and you're talking about £10 max. But I would say get into the habit of using an eye cream, because it might not fix everything, but it can definitely help if you get tired eyes. So a little trick that you can do if you know that you tend to have maybe smaller eyes, hooded eyes. Now we're talking about tired eyes, but as you get older, the skin does start to naturally droop anyway, and I've actually been looking at radio frequency machines, high frequency, and there's a lot that can be done with that. So if you really feel that it's starting to affect you, you don't necessarily have to go down the route of invasive treatments. You could possibly look at radio frequency, because what you're doing is you're trying to boost collagen production, and I also use my Faradic, my handheld device, and that's obviously helping to lift and tone the muscles, and your facial yoga too, which you know that I really like. Lots of really good facial yoga videos on YouTube too. So that combination can help. But what you might want to do, and this can be for anybody, is look at something like a lash lift. Now I've bought this myself because I obviously have got my qualifications, so I can go to the salon professional shops and I can get a lash lift kit. But if you don't have the qualification, you can go to someone that does them. You can probably get the home kits too, but if anyone remembers eyelash perms, it's basically the same thing, but they've evolved it for now. So instead of having these little round rods that you used to glue to your eyes, it's now more of a silicone pad, and it's a lot easier to use. So what happens with the lash lift, and this is just one brand, you can get lots of different brands, is you're basically perming or curling the lashes. So I've got long lashes, but they tend to be straighter. So what you want to do is get a curl in them. So as it says, it can last for up to 8 weeks. If anybody, it doesn't matter what gender you are, if you want your eyes to look more awake and you don't want to bother with the curler and you just want to know that they're going to look as bright and alert as possible, which when you think about it is what you're trying to do when you curl them and you put on your mascara, then a lash lift could be perfect. So what you do basically is you curl them. I'll actually show you very quickly. We're going to insert a little clip in, but you've got your curlers, you've got your lifting lotion, your fixing lotion, and then your nourishing lotion, which is obviously to look after the hair and keep it in good condition because you don't want your eyelashes to be over processed. But what's basically happening is you're curling the lashes, then you're setting the curl, and then it means that you can go ahead and you could tint the next day or you could tint that week, which means that you don't need to bother about your mascara for a while. It also means that they're going to look longer and thicker, which can be really good. And because you've got that curl in them, you're widening and awakening that eye area. So that's really what your lash lift, formerly your lash perm's all about. I still think you can get the perm sets. I just think the lift is kind of evolution and it's a bit more comfortable and easy to do both for the therapist and for the client. But if you want to do it at home, then you can use something like your eyelash curlers. A lot of people are really frightened about these, but what you do is you use the pad and then you very gently place the lashes in it and then you just hold it, or some people hold it for a few seconds, other people pump it, just whatever you prefer. And then when you release, you've got this curl to your lashes, but you have to set that curl. So you would either set it with a clear mascara if you don't want anyone to know that you're wearing makeup, or a brown mascara if you're not looking for anything that's dramatic and you want it to be super natural, or you can go for your blacks and any other colours you want if you really are doing it because you want to wear your full face of makeup. So I would say another tip then for trying to awaken that eye area is to get some sort of curl in those lashes, and if again you want to, do your tint because that'll define, or do your mascara. All of these things will just help to make that eye area look much more awake. Okay, and the next thing we can do is move on to makeup. So I've got a couple of examples here. Now, obviously with the tiredness, you're looking for a good concealer that helps to bounce the light. What you can do if you're comfortable with it is you can hide the area. So if it's particularly dark, you can use a corrector first to really hide the darkness so that you can then bounce the light away. But you don't want the panda eyes where you've actually used way too much concealer, and then when you take the camera flash, you've got this lovely white circle around your eyes. You've just used far too much concealer there and it's bouncing the light away and it completely ruins the effect. So make sure you don't do too much. Another thing that a lot of younger people do if they're doing their Instagram makeup or the heavy YouTube makeup is they really thickly apply lots of concealer all over the face, and they'll do a big line of this and a big line of this. That might be okay if you're under 25, but that area changes. That texture of skin was already really fine. It goes very crepey as you get older, and it doesn't even happen, it's not instant, but it will happen in a way that you'll think to yourself, why is that doing that? I never did it before. Why is my concealer suddenly sitting in the fine lines? Why is my concealer looking really crepey? Why is it suddenly looking like it's not wanting to behave, it's moving? That can be when you're just getting older. And it just means that your skin texture is changing and you can't do what you used to do. So I would say if you're over 25, you don't need to be painting all these lines on your face. It's about the art of blending, and less is more under the eyes. And if you can just very gently use that ring finger and pat in, and if necessary, use lots of thin layers and very finely powder and build up those fine layers, you'll get a much more natural result. And again, if you know you're going to be photographed, take a picture with the flash, make sure you don't have too much on or you'll get that horrible bounce back and it'll look crazy and you'll be so annoyed at yourself that you didn't know you'd done it. So that's a tip. But this is the Kevyn Aucoin. This is a Supernatural concealer. Arguably it's quite a thick one, but then you could use a light reflector underneath. I tend to try and block out the darkness using this sparingly first, then set it. then take a picture, and then if there's still a little bit of darkness there, then very, very gently paint on the light reflector where you need it. So not everywhere, not all around, just where you need it. But something like this will really help. Then I would say you want to, if you are going to use makeup, some of us as we get older, we naturally find that there's a little bit of pigmentation, and it can be around the eyes, it can be on the eyelid. I remember, and she was only in her 30s, but I worked with this woman and people used to compliment her all the time because they would say she had a really lovely colour, like a very light brown on her eyelids. And they would say, that's a gorgeous, really natural colour. And she used to say, I'm not wearing anything. That's just happened as I've got older. And I would say that was really fortunate that the little bit of pigmentation actually looked like nature had given her this gorgeous colour of eyeshadow. She loved it. So she would say, I'm not wearing any. It's just as I've got older, I've got this very natural tint, if you like, but it was pigmentation. But some people do get it under the eyes and you don't really want that. So if you have managed to conceal and you've blocked it out, but now you've just got this very blank canvas, then to make your eyes look more awake, you want to add some definition in, so some shade and highlight. So obviously you want to pick something like an eyeshadow that works for you, a bit of liner. And this is just an example. I got this last week. QVC, there's a surprise. Mally, again, I really love Mally makeup artist. Eyeshadow sticks. So if anyone isn't too keen on spending ages doing their eyeshadow with their powder, I'll just pick a random colour, which is, got it upside down, Moonlight. So this is quite a light colour here. Eyeshadow stick, all you do is you look in the mirror, you'll see where your natural crease is, if you're quite hooded, and again, me naturally, I've got quite hooded eyes. Some people have got quite a decent gap and they can actually use quite a lot of the mobile lid. Don't have that, but again, that's just nature. But as I get older, if it drops, that's why I'm using my radio frequency, get that collagen in production. But as it drops, you might even have less of a mobile lid in view because it can go extremely hooded. So what you might want to do in that case is A, use your treatments, and B, maybe work on moving where you apply your eyeshadow so that you can make the most of creating that definition, the highlight and the shade. So you would just look in the mirror, you would see exactly where your crease is, and then you can take something like this. Again, I had said on Patreon this week, under a minute you can use an eyeshadow stick and just get that definition there. So if you're working shifts or if you're in a hurry, maybe you're looking after the kids and you don't get the time to do the 15 minutes per eye thing that so many people do, eyeshadow stick, look in the mirror, see where your crease is, and then you can just very, very quickly apply it, do a bit of blending, set it in 60 seconds, off you go. And that's a great way to create that definition, waking up that eye, and really help it to counteract it if it's looking tired. Obviously with liner, if you draw the liner all the way around your eye and do it too thick, that's going to make your eye look even smaller. But what you can do is use the peachy toned eyeliners on the inside, because white can be a bit too fake, but the off-white peachy tones just on the inner waterline, on the lash line, that can really wake up your eye and make you look quite awake. So things like that you can do too. Tight lining above, rather than drawing it on the lid, you can actually just do it where the lashes are actually just underneath. And then what that does is it gives the appearance of thicker lashes, and it will give you a bit of an eye line, but it's not as obvious as a thick liner. Again, I can't really do a cat eye because I've got naturally hooded eyes, so you can't really see the flick. It can obviously be done, but it's not going to be as defined as someone with a big mobile lid who can do that big flick. I can't do that. So you adjust and you do what suits you, but there are lots of different ways where you can use makeup, use your highlight and shade to really make those eyes look less tired and more awake. If your eyes look tired, some people can wear false lashes and it can really brighten up and awaken their eyes. And other times, if it's tiredness through, again, when you do get exhausted and you can't hide it and people say, you look knackered, and you're like, yep, I am, I can't lie. Other times, again, it could be an age-related thing where people say you look tired all the time and you're like, I'm not tired, it must be something, I must be getting older because everyone's saying that I look tired and I'm not. And that's when people start looking at surgery options because they're fed up with everyone saying they look tired and they're like, I'm not tired. So you can use lashes, but what I would say is you don't necessarily have to use these big strip lashes. Again, thick strip lashes can look great on some people and they can look dreadful on others. If you've got smaller eyes, you might need to cut up the lashes. Sometimes some people say that a lash just looks too heavy on their eye anyway. It doesn't matter what they do, the lash just looks heavy. So what you can do is use the little individuals and just place them at the edges. When I did brides, I used to maybe use half a dozen and just take them from the outside edge into the middle, the thickest at the edge to give that little cat's eye flick, and then used to use the smaller ones as you went into the middle, and it used to just give this thickness from the middle out and do this lovely kick. So that would almost give you like the cat's eye flick without having to do the liner, and then you could add the liner if you wanted to. But what's really handy about these are they're pre-cut lashes, so if you did want to do the full lash, you can do it because it gives you the ability, but it's cut in sections. So it means that you can either work from the outside in and decide that only maybe 2 sections are all you need, and it gives you that thicker fullness, and then you can just kick it out. That can make you look much more awake. Or you might think, oh no, do you know what, I'm going to take it all the way in, and that could make you look more awake. Or you could decide, no, just the one. Just need a little bit of thickness there, that's all you need. So you can play about with these, they can make a big difference. They might be something again that you just play with in the house and then you just save it for special occasions. Other people wear their lashes quite frequently, but you might notice that quite a lot of people will be on YouTube doing demos and they'll say, take a strip lash and cut it in half. Now that could be a waste if you never actually use the other part of the strip lash. So why not, if you do like them, just start buying the pre-cut lashes so that you're not actually wasting anything because they've done that for you, and then it's up to you if you want to build. Some people might even do a double build of the lashes, so they might use it at the outside but then do a second layer and make it super thick. So you can play about with it, but you've got control and you don't need to make your eye too closed or too thick or too heavy. Like we used to say, sometimes you felt they were so thick when you were training, you looked like Daisy the Cow or a panto dame because they were just so heavy and ridiculous on your eyes. But this gives you control over that. And then of course, once they're set, you can then just use your mascara just to blend them in with your real lashes and no one will ever know. So that's another tip if you feel that you're just feeling, you're looking a little bit tired and it might be because your lashes are a little bit sparse, you can do something about it there. The last tip is an eyebrow pencil. So when your eyes look tired, sometimes your eyebrows might not be helping. Now we've spoken about eyebrows a lot over the years, and that thing that a lot of us say, it was drummed into us, your eyebrows are sisters, not twins. But what's happening in fashion, it always happens, is eyebrow shapes come in and out. So we've spoken about this before, 60s, quite a thin, pencil thin eyebrow. Sometimes people actually shaved them off and drew them back in. 70s also quite thin. I love watching old programmes, and I was actually watching something, anyone in the UK, I was watching Minder, and the lady on it, she had super thin eyelashes, it was super thin eyebrows, 1981, right, so we're into the 80s, her eyebrows were so thin. Right, so if anyone knows what I'm talking about, there'll be some people in different countries going, what's Minder? Had a really good theme tune, so you can check that out on YouTube. But I love watching older programmes, and you can actually date them. If you're into your makeup, you can date them a lot of the time purely by the makeup, then the eyebrows and the hair. So you had your super thin, then in the 80s they started getting a bit thicker, but they were still quite heavily tweezed, but you would get some people that would just leave them quite bushy. 90s quite defined, but then what's happened recently is we've went the other way and now they're super thick, and if people don't have naturally thick eyebrows, some people are creating thick eyebrows that are actually way too thick for their natural structure, too thick for their face shape, too thick for their eye shape, and it can actually make you look tired because you've created this brow. Now you can definitely change your brow shape and you can have a lot of fun doing it, but if you create an eyebrow that's like this thick and it's not meant to be that thick and it doesn't suit your face, then don't do it because it's fashion. Adapt that to suit you. So sometimes people copy a model or an influencer and they literally do copy their shape, but it suits them. It might be far too heavy for you. And some people do it very blocky, and what they do is they take the pencil and they literally, or the shadow powder, you get all these different gels, and they just fill it in and it's just like this block of colour. But your eyebrow isn't a block of colour, it's lots of individual eyebrow hairs. So if you're going to do it, get a pencil, or sometimes you get the felt pen tips. But what you want to do is mimic individual hairs. And then what you can do with your pencil after that is sort of blend it in so it's not too harsh looking. They'll quite often give you a spoolie or something that you can blend it in. But if you create an eyebrow that's too thin, you'll look startled. Sometimes, again, we spoke about thyroid. One of the reasons why people might realise their thyroid might be underactive or overactive can be that they can start to lose eyebrow hairs, and they say that classically from about a third of the way to the outside they can actually have no outer eyebrow, and they might not realise that that's a little indicator that your thyroid's out of whack. But some people, again, have maybe plucked them, might have had a medical condition where they've lost eyebrows. So you can definitely, any gender, you can have them microbladed or tattooed, where you actually replace the look of the hairs. They recreate individual hairs. But what you don't want to do is mimic it with makeup badly, because then people will just look at you and go, oh, bad eyebrows. And at the end of the day, it's only makeup. But don't you want to do the best you can and make it look as natural as you can? So if you are trying to work out your eyebrow shape, look at someone on YouTube or a makeup artist, look at someone you really like their style. Look for someone, if I'm being honest, where you look at their eyebrow and they've done the makeup and it's complete. Be honest with yourself and look at it and say, yeah, that looks good, that looks natural. If it looks fake and you want it to look fake, then go ahead. But if you want it to look real and you really want people to just think that's your eyebrows, then don't go for something that looks like a block of colour, or something that on you looks way too heavy and too dramatic and it's the wrong colour, it's far too light or far too dark. And what you might want to do is just ask your friends or family just to be truthful, and they might say, that doesn't suit you, or that is a bit too heavy, or that's too bulky. So it might be a bit rubbish hearing people say, that doesn't look right, but if it means that you get the best shape that suits you, it's worth it in the end. So if you are looking tired all the time, you're feeling tired all the time, then my final tip is have a look at those eyebrows. Maybe you can get some elevation in them. Maybe you can get a little bit of highlighter underneath, just again to bounce that light and make you look more fresh. Maybe you need a little bit of a tint, a bit of definition. You can always go to a professional if you're not in lockdown. So much you can do. But overall, those are some of my tips for tired eyes, maybe naturally hooded eyes, just ways to make you look more awake and more bright. So I hope you enjoyed that. As always, thanks for your channel support. Don't forget to leave me comments because I love chatting with everyone. Have a great day and I'll see you soon.